Why don't you steer this thing?
I told you don't steer the TARDIS, you reason with it.
How?
Unsuccessfully most of the time. She's a bad girl, this one. Always looking for trouble.
Duh.
You want to go out there?
You don't?
It's 1814. Melanin.
Ah.
Slavery is still totally a thing.
Yes, it is.
It might be like dangerous out there.
Definitely dangerous.
Interesting, yeah.
What's there?
The wardrobe. Pick a dress.
Blend
So
in.
TARDIS has dresses. And likes a bit of trouble. Yeah, I think I'm low-key in love with that.
Oh. Okay then. Hey, nice.
Travel into the past has got big rules. If I step on a butterfly, it could send ripples
Fair
through
enough,
time
fair
that
enough.
mean that I'm not even born in the first place, and I could just disappear.
You're not stepping on a butterfly, you're just taking a flyer. It's just time travel. Don't overthink it.
Interesting.
What is?
Regency England. A bit more black than they show in the movie.
I noticed.
So was Jesus. History's a whitewash.
Ah.
He was right here, but then I looked away and he...
Oh, it's okay. We'll help.
Hold on.
What does he look like?
Yeah, it's a
he was
trick.
small and brown.
Doc
and
knows.
Ever so soft.
Are you sure of that? Stay back!
Oh god. She just saw someone die. I mean, he might not be dead, but from her perspective, it looks like someone just died. And she's seen the doctor's reaction to it.
Save him.
I can't, he's gone.
Do something and save him.
What's wrong?
What's wrong?
Come on, Doc.
Seriously, what's wrong?
She's not used to it. Not yet, at least.
I've never seen anyone die before.
I'm your teacher. Telling you things is what I do.
Yeah. Tell me this.
Oh boy. Okay
You've
then.
seen people die before, yeah?
Of course.
You still care?
Of course I care.
Tell me how many people you've seen die.
Too many. Too many. To remember. To count.
Okay. How many before you lost count?
I care, Bill, but I move on.
How quickly? Have you ever killed anyone? There's a look in your eyes sometimes that makes me wonder.
Sometimes the choices of
That's not what I asked!
Yes.
How many?
It's a theme.
Don't tell me.
Can't remember.
You've moved on.
And you know what happens if I don't move on? More people die. Because let me tell you something, I'm 2,000 years old, and I've never had the time for the luxury of outrage.
What'd you do? Apart from shatter him,
Oh.
We were fighting.
are you still fighting now?
No. I moved on.
Okay then. I think they're far enough now, separated enough for them to make a move. Yeah. Chain creature. Oh boy. Oh god. There comes the eyeball, yeah.
The sound it made. Couldn't hear you, but that noise. I was like, I felt it in my bones, you know?
Cry for help.
It sounded like
Despair. Loneliness.
He knows all about that.
Prisoner in chains.
There's a workhouse upriver. Got men out there patrolling all hours.
Yeah. There's always someone who benefits from this.
Oh, I do apologise, sir.
That's right.
Does Lord Sutcliffe know you're here?
Some name.
Creature's almost a mile away.
The creature's head is almost a mile away. I assume we're now at the other end. These
Oh.
men,
Yeah.
why do we trust them all the way to Hampton?
No, to the steel mill, sir.
Just give it up.
Code.
Yes, we need to use code, otherwise anyone could walk in here and get you blabbing away like a fool.
Oh, that's a good point, sir. That this stuff burns 1,000 times longer than coal.
Of course, someone always benefits and exploits.
Hotter too. Hotter than they can measure. You know what else they say?
You'll get
They
sacked.
say it even burns underwater.
No So, you think Sutcliffe is an alien?
Possibly.
Ah.
Because the creature is an alien.
It certainly appears to be producing fuel suitable for interstellar travel.
Ooh.
I need you to leave the talking to me,
Why?
because you've a temper.
Okay, well, I lost it a tiny bit.
What we're here for is one thing, information.
Info, yeah.
Get that with diplomacy and tact, charm, if necessary.
Okay.
It's not gonna go down like that, is it?
Always remember, Bill, passion fights, but reason wins.
Dr. Disco from the Fairford Club.
Dr. Disco.
Obviously, one aspires to membership, but to actually be considered for... Who let this creature in here? On your feet, girl! In the presence of your betters?
But by creature, he means
He's
human.
31 years of age, low in iron.
Maybe not.
Human progress isn't measured by industry. It's measured by the value you place on a life. An unimportant life. A life without privilege. The boy who died on the river, that boy's value is your value. That's what defines an age. That's what defines a species.
Look at that.
What a beautiful speech.
But
It's enough to move anyone with an ounce of compassion.
not you, though.
So it's really not your day, is it?
No time for outrage. Never had time for anything else, right?
Don't be smug. Smug belongs to me.
You really 2,000 years old?
Why?
I just wanted to know how long it takes before you can make a speech like the one you just made. It's worth the wait.
The Loch Ness monster, the not so little mermaid. Are we just going to leave her down there?
Well, we can't set her free. She could burst up out of the water and eat 100 people right off a South Bank. She could eat half of London.
She might. It's a risk.
Quite the conundrum, isn't it, Bill?
We already know the answers. Why even asking?
I don't know the answers. Only idiots know the answers. But if your future is built on the suffering of that creature, what's your future worth?
Why is it up to me?
Because it can't be up to me. Your people, your planet, I serve at the pleasure of the human race. And right now, that's you. Give me an order.
Save her.
Yeah.
Where will she go?
Somewhere cold, I imagine. Hopefully she's smart enough to avoid you lot now.
Can you hear that?
Thank you. A few touch-ups.
Go on.
You boy, remind me, what's your name?
Boo! Perry. His name's Perry.
Ooh, he's adding it to the...
Apparently, Lord Sutcliffe's long-lost heir can't be a girl.
Oh, they'll be fine. They'll be just fine.
There you go.
There's that tea.
There's your tea. It's much better when you stick to your oath. Oh, sir, no. This is unacceptable. But, sir, you said you'd be coming back to your office.
Shock, a steel fortune is past a street urchin.
Sir, we need to talk. Your oath.
Ooh, Ken Ardol.
Oh my god, it worked. You did it. You saved them.
No, it was you.
You did.
Yeah, you played a part. Big
You
part.
gave the order. Boss.
Sir, never asked to be reassembled, did I? Knocking.
Whoa.
What has he told you? Because, yeah, he may have a little friend now, and yeah, he may be a little bit distracted, but I tell you something,
I'm still here.
I'm still here. You are going nowhere.
Ooh. That's scary. Okay, so yeah, I mean, knocking and Doctor Who just kind of go hand in hand, don't they? Nardole gets a bit of a scare at the end there. It's quite a tense scene. I liked it. Now, you can infer a few things from this, of course. Now, I was about to say that, the fact that he is speaking just normal English, I was about to say it's probably a person, but, person could be anything really, right? It could be an alien. Right? But they could still be a person. So to me, at this point, it's kind of clear that it's not an unintelligent creature that's in there, right? It's responding to Nardole. But yeah, in terms of Nardole holding strong, he reiterates that, even though the Doctor has a new friend now, and he might be a little bit distracted, I'm still here. Now, I mentioned the idea of knocking and Doctor Who kind of going hand in hand, right? Of course, there's those iconic moments that he'll knock 4 times. Right. Of course, at the end of the day, it ended up being Grandpa. Listen, it could totally be a misdirect. It could be anything really, but it could also be a bit of a hint. Again, based on stuff I've seen in the show already. Right. So I don't know. It's not out of the realm of possibility that the Master could be in there. It's possible. Right. That's easily one of the possibilities, I'd say. Especially given the Gallifreyan symbols. I'm pretty certain those are meant to be Gallifreyan symbols. Right, I've seen something really quite similar before inside of the TARDIS and in other places. So yeah, I do think there's some signs there that it could be the Master. Right, so certainly one of the possibilities. There's also a possibility that it's something entirely new. Something I do not know about yet. Whoever this person is, this being ends up being, maybe it's a completely new thing altogether. Right, that's a possibility. But in terms of Nardole, the thing I really like about Nardole is that he does not let the Doctor forget. He is on the Doctor's case. He's actually really quite serious about it. He's quite cross about it. He simply is not going to let him forget about it. And, I like that about Nardole. I really do. He's not just comedic relief. I mean, he serves that purpose as well, but I like this. I like this about Nardole. So, at least there's that so far that I am able to kind of latch onto. So yeah, I think I am beginning to like this aspect of Nardole. But yeah, let's get to the episode itself. Of course, it's a period piece, right? Going back to the past. Of course, it's just a natural progression, isn't it? First, you kind of get to go to the future, then you go to the past, right? Direct opposites. To get you accustomed, to get the companions accustomed to both directions essentially. But of course, both of these time periods can be really quite jarring, right? Be it the far future or, in the past. Hell, sometimes the past can be even more scary from a certain perspective. And that is the perspective that you get here through Bill, who is a person of color, right? Now, again, this isn't the first time I've seen Martha in the Shakespeare's Code, or the Shakespeare Code. And I'll come back to that talking point. Let's put a pin in that for now. But, I must say that I believe this episode actually handles it far better than that episode, right? Again, I'll come back to it. But I think as a whole, it's a really tight script. I think it really uses the runtime quite well. I mean, it's really quite an effective episode, top to bottom, right? It's just really quite functional. And of course, the script continues to have a social conscience, doesn't it? About numerous issues, right? Issues such as race, climate change, right? That's a bit more subtle, but it's there, right? Exploitation. But of course, one of the main focuses of this one is race. That one is not so subtle. That's actually a major focus throughout this episode, right? And I think rightfully so, given this specific companion as well, because I do believe that, at this point of the run, 10 series in, it would have been a little bit, inappropriate maybe to gloss over it. Kind of like how the Shakespeare Code glosses over it, right? There, it's more so, I remember Tennant saying, walk around like you own the place. It really does kind of gloss over it. To me, it felt like, okay, it's been brought up in passing, and that's it. That's good enough. They draw a bit of attention to it, but then they kind of gloss over it. Tennant's doctor at that point doesn't really make much of it. Again, I'll get into that in a bit. I know I've said that twice now, but if you look at the reactions of that doctor, the 10th, And then you look at the reactions of the 12th Doctor, it's kind of night and day, isn't it? And ultimately, it does make sense that this is the Doctor that is going to have that type of reaction to it. A reaction that is a bit more serious rather than, just kind of playing it off. And yeah, at this point, it's clear that, this series specifically is taking a bit of a different turn. It's been noticeable since the first episode. It has. And I kind of alluded to this in the last episode's discussion because, again, it was clear that it's a different direction for sure. There's an effort being made here to really kind of have a lot of extras that are, people of color. I mean, there's an attempt, an effort to focus on some of these issues, right? Now, listen, the thing I was alluding to in the last episode as well, essentially for some, there might not have been enough of this throughout the years, throughout the Doctor Who run, but then also on the flip side, for some, it might be a complete turnoff, different sides of the same fandom. Some people recoil at the idea, at the notion of these issues, these types of issues being covered in, their long-term cherished television show, right? And again, this is nothing new. Again, I mentioned different fandoms. This happens across the board in anything, be it gaming, in film, and shows. You see it. You see it a lot on social media these days. A lot of times you'll see people complaining about things becoming too political. Oh, you've messed it up by making it political. But a lot of times, a lot of these IPs, they're political. They have political elements, but sometimes people don't tend to pick up on it. Right. But then the moment it becomes a little bit more clear, it's just this immediate recoil at the notion of it. But, ultimately, it is a little bit unrealistic to expect an ongoing show or a film series or anything to just kind of remain in a bubble. Right. It's just simply not going to happen. You cannot expect something you like to always remain the same. It is going to take a different direction from time to time. Times change. And, this whole idea of going woke, it's quite the explosive topic. It is. It is a term that gets thrown out there a lot. But a lot of times it's also kind of thrown out there as a blanket statement just because, a particular show or a film or anything, a story, wasn't able to stay in that bubble. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be talking about this from time to time throughout this series 10. But yeah, the direction of this season, or this series rather, it's really quite distinct, isn't it? And they're not shy about it. They're really not shy about it. I mean, listen, there's a line of dialogue in there that must have ruffled a few feathers, right? Having the Doctor say that. Having that be the stance the Doctor takes. I believe he said something along the lines of, history's a whitewash. But hey, it's actually even more effective in this sense, isn't it? Because the Doctor is a time traveler. And he's been there and back, and then some. He's been all over the place. He's been in all the different time periods. So from the show's perspective, right, from the Doctor's perspective, it's really quite a deliberate stance. And listen, I'm sure that a lot of people might hold the belief that the show, Doctor Who should not be, covering race. Again, there's that idea of, wanting to keep it in a bubble and not wanting it to ever focus on any of these issues. Like I said, it's a little bit unrealistic. Listen, if you're going to take a person of color, a companion that is a person of color, to that era, you cannot gloss over it. It's as simple as that. But quickly going back to the 10th Doctor's reaction in the Shakespeare's Code, he kind of dismisses it, or rather, it doesn't really register as a major concern to him at that point. But here in the 12th Doctor's reaction, you see that no, he does not dismiss it. He recognizes that, it's a valid concern for sure. It really is. And she is right to be concerned, right? He doesn't dismiss it, or he doesn't joke about it. None of that. So, in there, I think, again, this is not a comment on Tennant as an actor or anything. No, not at all. This is just the progression of the Doctors, essentially, this comment I'm about to make. You really kind of see the growth of the Doctor here in series 10. Right? I mean, you really kind of get to see the growth of the Doctor even in series 8 and 9 as well. Capaldi's Doctor, it's really quite different. I mean, I just feel that, he's clearly much more mature than his past iterations. But of course, much like Martha, Bill also had some of the same concerns about something else, the time travel aspect of it, right? The rules and all of that. one misstep and you might change the future, those types of concerns. So Bill is kind of thinking about the butterfly effect, the grandfather paradox, those kinds of things. Again, they've established that Bill's really into sci-fi, so she has a bit of an understanding for all of this, right? So she has that concern. But I really love that line of dialogue. It's time travel, don't overthink it. I mean, from this perspective, sure, that works. It works. Yeah. But that's not always the case. That's not always the case as far as time traveling stories go. But yeah, it continues, the great double act, doesn't it? Bill and the Doctor, Pearl and Capaldi. It's giving Pearl, or it's giving the character of Bill a lot of fantastic material, a lot of great early development, right? And, this really truly felt like the next step, because it does kind of ask a few uncomfortable questions, or Bill comes to some of these uncomfortable questions that might have been lingering in her mind, as she alluded to. Sometimes there's a look in your eye, right? So it's great stuff. It is. To see episode by episode this dynamic kind of progress and just kind of develop, right? And them kind of becoming this new fantastic duo. Right, I feel like in a few more episodes' time, they are going to be quite the fantastic duo together. I mean, I'm already really enjoying the professor and the student relationship aspect of it, the chemistry that they have. I'm enjoying all of it already, but I do believe that it is going to become even better. Right, give it a few more episodes. I felt that this episode explores and reiterates the show's philosophy toward life. And I think there's a lot of similarities to The Beast Below, and it feels like it might be by design, because again, the companion is put in a similar position, both companions, if you go back to Amy, and then if you go to Bill in this episode as well. And again, it's really quite similar, or a bit of a different take on Kill the Moon, right? That dilemma, that conundrum. But the major difference here being the Doctor doesn't just disappear in this one. He's there. He puts the uncomfortable question to her, puts her in the driving seat, and I feel like that is an important moment for her as a companion, for her journey as a companion, to have that, to make that choice, to be in a position to make that choice. And of course, since it is a period piece, the production design and the costume design, it's just top notch. It always is, right? I always love it. That's one of the reasons I love these period pieces. They're just so transportive. They really sell it. They really sell it. Hell, it actually even reminded me of Capaldi in The Personal History of David Copperfield. Funny I should bring that up, because that's another film that was kind of accused of being woke. Right, it's the one, Dev Patel is the lead, but it has this incredible cast. I really, really enjoyed that film. I've only seen it the one time at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I've been meaning to go back to it, because it was a really fantastic film. I thought it was a fantastic film, but yeah, incredible cast. Of course, I saw Capaldi in that, and again, the costume design really reminded me of him in that film, and the staging of this episode's narrative is really quite refreshing, isn't it? I mean, it's strikingly unusual in that sense, to be in that setting. Mostly outdoors, and of course, from time to time, there's a few interior shots. But yeah, really early on in this episode, Bill is beginning to gain an understanding of the moral complexities of time traveling with the Doctor. Or actually, rather, she is beginning to gain an understanding for the moral complexities of time travel the Doctor is constantly contending with. And listen, there's quite the outburst. It's the first time she sees someone die, and, she's really quite agitated. She's having to go at the Doctor. And listen, I know that that's not something people like for the most part. Companions, especially new companions, kind of treating the Doctor in that manner, or speaking to the Doctor in that manner. I think, from her perspective, it's justified, right? Again, she has much to learn. And like I just mentioned, she is beginning to learn. By the end of this episode, she is, she has a better understanding for a lot of this now, right? The things that the Doctor has to go through. But I think the really important aspect of this is the Doctor's reaction or response to Bill, right? He's really calm and collected. He lets her kind of get it out because he understands that, yeah, she's right in feeling this way. She is. But, she'll understand. She'll understand soon enough that, that if he doesn't move on, he's liable for more death. That he doesn't have the time for the luxury of outrage. Though, of course, there's quite a fun moment a little bit later on in the episode, right? As he ultimately decks Lord Sutcliffe. And then, of course, a little bit later on, Bill actually does begin to understand that aspect of it, right? As she is with the remaining children who are safe and sound at that moment. So yeah, from Bill's perspective, it's certainly a tale of two halves, isn't it? Because earlier on in the episode, she kind of experiences another side of the Doctor. From her perspective, his compassion appears to be at a shocking low, right? As he snatches his screwdriver, his sonic, from the kid's hands, or his one hand that's sticking out at that moment. Of course, later on in quite a poignant moment, she does see and understand that he cares. He cares, of course he cares. And, it's another one of Capaldi's amazing speeches, right? There's so many of them at this point. This man is just so special, isn't he? And, Bill sees that the Doctor is special. He does care. There's that really great shot of Bill looking at the Doctor after he delivers that speech. And she is just greatly moved and impressed by it and by the Doctor in that moment, right? She's proud. Once again, she's really quite proud that this is her professor, her teacher. Now, of course, the fat cat industrialist that is Lord Sutcliffe is completely unmoved by it. Though, of course, he does comment on the beauty of the actual delivery of the speech. And, it also comments on privilege, being born into privilege, randomly being born into privilege, and it just being that. And he says something really interesting, didn't he? The accident of birth, right? The accident of birth, right? Random. It's all random. But, the speech itself is, the point of it, it's just so beautiful, isn't it? That human progress is measured by the value you put on life. But, unimportant life, specifically, a life without privilege. It's a beautiful message. And honestly, it just feels even more effective coming out of Capaldi's mouth, coming out of the 12th Doctor's mouth. But yeah, I think that ultimately Lord Sutcliffe is sufficient enough. He served his purpose in this specific narrative. I mean, he really is quite a textbook, one-dimensional antagonist, isn't he? Whose opening lines of dialogue include a crude racial slur directed at Bill. I mean, it's essentially meant to be a completely irredeemable character, right? And he is. He is. But here's the thing, folks. I was actually bamboozled. I actually kind of misread it for a split moment, because honestly, I simply did not expect that type of reaction. It's such a, such a visceral, hateful reaction to Bill, right? So automatically I assumed, okay, yeah, he is an alien. And, he's got this thing against humans, right? Because again, the Doctor is a Time Lord, right? Or Gallifreyan rather. And, maybe this alien specifically has a thing against humans. But no, he was legitimately just being that hateful. Now, I simply just was not expecting that type of reaction. I mean, that outburst was really quite jarring, wasn't it? And you could argue maybe a little bit over the top. I mean, because the moment I realized, no, he's not an alien. Yeah, then, in my mind, I'm just like, holy shit. Wow. This is a despicable individual. It's just that I'm not used to seeing this, but, I have to give them a lot of credit for going there, for not sugarcoating it. Even though I do feel that maybe his reaction is a tad bit over the top, right? Even for someone as hateful as him, perhaps. But again, it also serves a purpose because it earns him a beautiful right cross from the Doctor, right? So much for tact and charm, right? Diplomacy, all of that. It goes out the window the moment the Doctor sees his behavior, right? The moment he sees that, this is directed at his friend, at his pupil. No chance, right? And the Doctor essentially does something kind of out of character, doesn't he? Not kind of out of character, it is out of character. But, in this situation, it kind of works. But, I soon realized that, this character is hardly complex enough to be an alien, right? He's too human to be an alien. That's the whole point of it, right? Ultimately, he is too much of a man of his time. And I think you have to take that into account. You do, right? It's, you cannot, there's that angle of, not applying present day morals and complexities to a different time era, right? Or, specifically the past. But even in that sense, this man, this character specifically, is especially hateful. And also, to be fair, it is meant to be a bit of a misdirect, isn't it? Because they are kind of essentially or potentially setting him up as an alien, right? They mentioned interstellar travel, right? This fuel being good for that. And yeah, that he might be an alien, but no. And also, this episode is one of those rare occasions where I did like the children, the cast of children that are a part of this. Like I've said before, it's not really my cup of tea. I actually felt that all of the child actors in this one are really quite effective in their roles. I liked them. I really did. But also, another standout scene is the diving scene, the Jules Verne era diving suits. Oh, it just had that really fantastical sense of adventure, didn't it? And, it actually kind of even reminded me of The Impossible Planet, Tennant's doctor. Again, that's not a diving suit, but, he's going below. He's diving below, isn't he? And, again, it's one of the most amazing shots in all of Doctor Who, for me at least. It's him just against the darkness, right? He's just kind of reeling below. And then at one point, he just has to unclip and he falls. But yeah, it's a little bit different, but it's still kind of reminding me of that, right? That really fantastical sense of adventure. Actually, that might have been part 2, the Satan Pit. One or the other, right? It's in that 2-parter. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in timer-based full length or early access, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media. But thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next episode. Until then, take it easy.